Thomas Craven waits for his daughter to come home. Since taking a job in the next city, Emma rarely visits, so this reunion matters to both of them. After time apart, she seems different. Her face is pale and she keeps throwing up. Thomas assumes she is pregnant. Emma denies it. She admits she has a boyfriend, but says she has taken care of herself. Their closeness shows in the easy way they talk and move around the kitchen. While preparing dinner, Emma lifts a tray and finds a gun and a badge, revealing that Thomas is a police officer. Their quiet evening ends abruptly. Emma's nose begins to bleed and she vomits again. She admits she has hidden this illness, but insists on seeing a doctor first. As they leave the house, a gunman fires. Emma is hit and dies in Thomas's arms. Before the shot, the attacker shouts Thomas's last name, making it clear the real target was him. In that instant, Thomas's life crosses the edge of darkness. This is Edge of Darkness. Hours later, police fill the house. They investigate and try to comfort Thomas. His friend Bill speaks to him, but Thomas is numb. Revenge is all he can think about. That night 2 officers guard the house, yet Thomas does not care if the shooter returns. His daughter is gone. Trying to cope, Thomas enters Emma's room. Her phone rings. No one speaks when he answers. He senses something off but tries to sleep. Dreams of Emma keep him awake. In the morning he goes to the office and asks a colleague to trace the call. The police have no lead on the shooter. They review all of Thomas's past cases, suspecting personal revenge. Because the victim is his daughter, Thomas is officially barred from the investigation. He argues that the attack was aimed at him and should count as attempted murder of a police officer. Before the autopsy, Thomas must identify the body. Everyone knows it is Emma, but the law requires confirmation. Exhausted, he no longer cries. He asks the doctor for a few strands of her hair as a keepsake. Memories of Emma follow him everywhere. He knows grief will not catch the killer, so he forces himself to review old cases again, but no new lead appears. 2 days later, Emma is cremated and Thomas scatters her ashes at the beach they once visited together. The investigation stays cold until Thomas searches his daughter's belongings. There he learns Emma worked as a nuclear scientist and finds a handgun, surprising because she had always disliked weapons. Tracing the serial number leads him to a man named David Burnham. Thomas planned to visit David, but before he left, Bill reported a new lead. Police had found the shooter's hat near the crime scene with strands of hair inside. Thomas still went to David's address in the next city. When he knocked, David panicked and prepared to fight. With no response, Thomas forced his way inside. A struggle followed, but Thomas overpowered him.
Settle down. All right, I'm not gonna hurt you.
David turned out to be both Emma's ex-boyfriend and colleague. He said he acted in fear for his life and revealed that Emma's death was a planned murder. He refused to share more, claiming that unknown people were watching his house. Before Thomas left, David handed him some of Emma's belongings, including her house key. Thomas searched Emma's home next. At first everything looked normal. Photos of Emma and David on the fridge suggested their relationship had been good. Then he noticed signs of intrusion. A window had been pried open and marks on a table showed a missing computer. The final shock came when he found a radiation detector. When it touched Emma's hair, the device reacted, proving she had been exposed to nuclear radiation. The story shifts to a government official meeting a hitman named Jedburgh in secret. They discuss Emma's death. The police believe it was a case of mistaken identity, and the official wants that theory to stand. If the real motive is exposed, public panic will follow. Jedburgh is hired to find a scapegoat. Meanwhile, Thomas reviews the phone records he hacked the day before. Among the recent calls is a number belonging to a woman named Melissa. When he contacts her, she reacts with the same nervousness David showed. Determined to learn more, Thomas visits the company where Emma worked. The director, Jack Bennett, greets him politely. Although Emma was a nuclear scientist, the company is private and only partners with the government. They claim to develop nuclear energy for clean power, but in truth they are building weapons to expand the nation's stockpile. Bennett offers no further detail, warning that anyone who exposes the project will be treated as a national threat. His comments point to the motive behind Emma's murder. Thomas begins to connect the pieces, but evidence is thin. Soon after, he hears that police have found Emma's supposed killer. When they raid the suspect's apartment, the man is already dead with a shotgun nearby. The scene looks staged to close the case. Thomas quickly sees the deception. The dead man's hair is the wrong length to match the strands found earlier. That night Thomas burned his daughter's clothes. As the fire rose, Jedburgh appeared without warning. He introduced himself calmly and let Thomas search him. He carried a message. The government had labeled Emma a terrorist. Since Jedburgh posed no threat, Thomas let him inside. Jedburgh showed photos to back his claim. 3 activists had recently tried to enter Emma's workplace through a drainage tunnel. Poor planning led to their deaths by drowning, and the government hid their bodies. Officials believed Emma helped the activists, so they marked her as a national threat. Jedburgh hoped Thomas would end his investigation. He warned that if Thomas kept digging, they would eventually face each other as enemies. Questions remained. Why were the activists so intent on breaking into Bennett's company, and why would Emma help them? To learn more, Thomas visited David again. David stayed cautious. His contract with the company meant any slip could send him to prison. He only revealed that before her death, Emma had asked senators and lawyers for help but received no response. Out of options, she turned to the activists. The project she tried to expose had to be dangerous enough to risk her life. Before Thomas left, David shared one final detail. The activists had not drowned. They died from radiation exposure. Still convinced Bennett was hiding something, Thomas followed his car that night. Another vehicle soon tailed Thomas, showing that his own movements were under watch. He managed to evade them by slipping through a restroom exit. Certain that Bennett played a role in Emma's death, Thomas resumed the chase. He caught up, smashed Bennett's car window, and aimed his pistol. He held back, knowing he still lacked answers. One question lingered: why had no officials helped Emma when she asked for support? The next day, a television program offered the reason. Senator Pine admitted that one of his largest campaign donors was Bennett's company. The next day, Thomas met Jedburgh again to state the facts. His daughter had never been involved with terrorists. The 3 activists who tried to enter Bennett's company, as David had explained, died from radiation poisoning. That was a crime. David's testimony could not be used in court because of his company contract, and by then it no longer mattered. The night before, police found David dead. Thomas began questioning everyone Emma had contacted before her death. He started with a lawyer named Senderman. Despite clear evidence they had met, Senderman claimed he had never seen Emma. Thomas had already learned that Senderman once worked as a company attorney for Bennett and later betrayed Emma, luring her into a trap. To protect himself, Senderman agreed to arrange a meeting between Thomas and the local senator. Thomas then sought out Emma's friend Melissa. They met by the roadside. She was the only person willing to talk because she had never signed a contract with Bennett's company. Still, Bennett had sent threats to keep her silent, explaining her earlier fear. During their conversation, Melissa gave Thomas an envelope containing a cassette tape Emma had left with her. Emma had sensed her life would be cut short. Melissa admitted she was the one who introduced Emma to the activists after officials and lawyers refused to help. Before her death, Emma had even said someone was poisoning her. Their meeting ended in violence. A car hit Melissa and the driver tried to kill Thomas. He fired at the vehicle, forcing it into the river. Melissa survived but suffered injuries so severe that doctors amputated both legs. Her family wept when they saw her condition, and Thomas felt deep guilt. Back in his car, Thomas played the cassette. Emma's motive became clear. Northmore, Bennett's company, had secretly worked with the government to build a covert nuclear weapon designed to frame other nations. The weapon left no trace, giving the United States a false pretext for invasion. Emma knew this and feared for her life. Meanwhile, the deaths of the 3 activists began to stir unrest. The government continued to hide the truth. Once the families learned that the bodies were contaminated with radiation, public outrage would follow. Bennett had gone beyond all limits. One question remained: who told Bennett about Emma's plan with the activists? The answer pointed to Robinson, a professor and mentor to the group. Bennett bribed him, and Robinson alone avoided threats or harm. After confronting Robinson, Thomas went back to Emma's house to find out how Bennett had poisoned her. In the refrigerator, he discovered a bottle of milk laced with radioactive material and realized Bennett and government officials intended to use the same method on him. Meanwhile, Jedburgh visited a doctor and learned he had brain cancer. Facing death forced him to rethink his role in hiding government corruption and Emma's murder. The next day, Thomas met the senator to ask why he had refused Emma's plea for help. He acted as if he did not know the motive behind her killing. The senator, likely bribed, repeated the claim that Emma was a terrorist. Thomas then revealed photos of the 3 activists' bodies, proving that Bennett and his allies were the real criminals. He warned that if the cover-up continued, he would take the evidence to the media. On the way home, Thomas noticed the same men following him. This time he was ready. He led them into his own jurisdiction, where as a Boston police officer he could conduct searches. In their car he found a machine gun, clear proof of illegal activity. The men showed no fear, and one warned that Thomas's time was almost over. News of the arrest spread quickly and Thomas's name became public. Inside Bennett's circle, some official suggested dropping the plan to kill him, but the order had already been given. That night Bill arrived with advice. He claimed the case might never be solved and urged Thomas to stop the investigation. He also said prosecutors were starting to link Thomas to David's death because of his repeated visits. Thomas sensed something was wrong. A friend who once supported him was now undermining him. The truth soon emerged: Bill had betrayed him, either for money or to protect his family. That night Bill arrived with Bennett's men and they stunned Thomas with an electric shock until he lost consciousness. He woke inside Northmore's hidden facility, his body feeling poisoned. Forcing himself up, he slipped out of the handcuffs. When a guard entered, Thomas stayed still until the guard relaxed, then struck and overpowered him. Tests confirmed his suspicion. He had been exposed to radioactive material and knew time was running out. He stole a car from a Northmore employee and fled. At dawn he returned home to retrieve a weapon, then drove straight to Bennett's residence and opened fire on the guards. Gunshots echoed through the house. The remaining guards reacted fast but fell one after another. Among them was a man Thomas recognized from a past arrest. Convinced this was the shooter who killed Emma, Thomas forced him to shout his name, matching the voice from that night.
Oh, Craven, say it! Craven!
Thomas was wounded but fought on. To end Bennett, he poured radioactive milk into Bennett's mouth. Bennett panicked and reached for an antidote, but before he could drink it, Thomas shot him dead.
Down. You know you deserve this.
Elsewhere, government officials who worked with Bennett panicked when they learned Thomas had survived and was in a hospital. They feared the truth about Emma's murder would surface. They turned to Jedburgh for help, asking him to ruin Thomas's credibility by portraying him as unstable. They believed the plan would silence the story. Jedburgh suddenly turned on them and killed them all. Police rushed in. Jedburgh did not resist. Accepting his part in the corruption, he let them shoot him. Before these events, Thomas had sent every piece of evidence to the media, including the cassette recording. Knowing his life was ending, he ensured the truth would reach the public. In the final scene, he lies in critical condition. Emma appears beside him and they walk away together, reunited beyond this life. So the moral of the story is never mess with radioactive milk or a dad on a mission, because justice served by an angry father is way stronger than any secret government plan.